things. Just turned my cell phone off. If you guys can turn your cell phone off or just put it on silent so that if it does ring, you know, it won't interrupt the presentation. We left you in this, we'll do this real quick, then we're going to play a short video, and then we'll start the whole presentation. Everybody received one of these sheets that we have to collect back from you. If you're here with a spouse or a partner, you can fill out one for the two of you. If you're here by yourself, obviously we need your sheet here. We use a sheet for a bunch of things, and if you decide that some of the information that we're talking about today interests you, and you might have some questions that you want to come meet with us after, we're going to offer everybody a free consultation in our Paramus office. No obligation, no stress. We'll talk all about that, what it's like, what you're going to get throughout this presentation. But we would use this sheet if you say yes or no that you want to meet up with us in Paramus. So we need to collect this from everybody. With that, I'm going to get going with we have one more short video, and then we're going to get going with our presentation, and I'll do a formal introduction. So let me get that thing going, make sure I do it right. And this is today's the first day we redesigned our presentation slides, so hopefully it's going to work.
Everyone, I'm Kristen Oakley, co-host of the Papa Report TV show, and on behalf of the entire DPS Advisors team, I'd like to welcome you to this event. We're so glad that you're here. We recognize that there's a lot of other places you could be right now and a lot of other things that you could be doing, but you chose to come here and invest in your financial future, and we really admire you for that. This event is just one of many ways that the DPS Advisors team lives out its motto of educating and empowering people to make better decisions with their hard-earned money. You choosing to be here today is part of that mission, and it's our sincere hope that you will leave here feeling educated and empowered to make better decisions with your hard-earned money. I have the pleasure of introducing you to John Papa. Now, you can read all about his professional bio on his website or on the materials that are going to be given to you here at this event. So, what I want to do is share with you some things about John that you won't find anywhere else. I first met John in early 2023 when I was asked to become his new television show host. In an industry that can often be filled with a lot of arrogance and large egos, I was immediately struck by John's humility and his sincere desire to connect with and positively impact the lives of our television show viewers. But perhaps what impressed me even more was John's desire to acknowledge and appreciate every single person behind the scenes who is a part of his show. Every time we work together, John takes the time to write a handwritten note and includes a generous monetary gift to every single person behind the scenes, from the director to the cameraman to the makeup artist and to me. Here's my latest one. It says, "Kristen, thank you for everything that you do for me to make my show great. I really appreciate all you do for me. John." He recognizes that it takes an entire team of people to be able to do what he does, and he always goes the extra mile to show his gratitude. After John and I have been working together for about a year, we both attended an industry dinner that was filled with financial advisors from across the country. As we sat next to each other enjoying our meal in a very noisy room, I started asking John some hypothetical questions about my own financial situation. Now, what John didn't know, and I didn't tell him, is that my husband and I were currently looking for a new financial advisor to manage our own money. He answered all my questions and didn't hesitate to offer the opportunity for me to receive a complimentary written financial plan, just like he provides to every single person who wants to make an appointment with him. When I got back to my hotel room that night, I called my husband and I said, "I know we found our guy." We were blown away by the level of detail that John was able to provide for us, especially because I had already been working in this industry as a financial educator for over a decade. Shortly after that, we became clients of DPS Advisors, and it is by far one of the best decisions that we have ever made. So much so that we've now gone on to refer 5 other friends and family members who've now entrusted John and the team to take care of their financial futures as well. In addition to his knowledge and expertise, one of the things we really appreciate about John is his responsiveness. A few months after we had become clients, I was making coffee in my company's break room, and word was getting around the office that the stock market was going crazy. As I listened to all the chatter and heard all the people freaking out around me, I glanced down at my phone and boom, there was an email from John telling me exactly what was going on, what we needed to know about it, and most of all, providing the reassurance that because of the plan he had built for us, we were going to be fine. Anytime we have a question, concern, or decision that involves a dollar sign, we know we can count on John and the team of DPS advisors to be there for us in a timely manner. I could go on and on about John, but I think the best thing I can do for you is allow you to experience John and the team of DPS advisors for yourself.
Okay, that was Kristen Oakley. If you were watching the show before, she's our television show host. And the reason why I asked her, she actually asked me if she could do an intro thing for our presentations is because she's not just my television show host. She does that for about 60 or 70 other financial advisors across the country. And that night we were having dinner, she was asking me some questions, and I was like, Chris, whatever you want, I'll help review your stuff, whatever you need, I'll help. And they became clients. And the fact that she chose me and DPS over, there's advisors in our firm that are way larger than I am, and I think her picking us was a pretty cool thing. And I really appreciate the fact that she did that. So we're going to talk today. If you didn't pay attention to who I am, I'll say it real quick. My name is John Papa. I'm the president of DPS Advisors. You met Ted. He's my brother-in-law. He's been with us for 2 years now. Luke out there has been with us for 4 years now. I started this practice with my dad 40 years ago. And now I know I don't look like I'm 61 years old, but I'm 61 years old. I feel like I'm 25. I act like I'm 25, but I'm 61. I can't believe where the time went. So we started this practice 40 years ago, and my dad was a hairdresser most of his life. When I was a young kid, he cut hair in his own little shop in Newark, and then we moved to Roseland, and he had his shops and stuff, and he was a hairdresser. We were middle class, low middle class, 6 people living in a 1-bathroom house, and then he couldn't cut hair anymore. And about that time, I was getting to high school, and he answered an ad to sell life insurance for Guardian Life Insurance Company. In fact, they have an office right in Paramus here as well. And I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was an athlete in high school. I went to play football at Trenton State College, and I learned really quick that my NFL career wasn't going to happen because I was 5'10" and 180 pounds and couldn't run or jump. So I had to figure something out. He's like, what do you want to do? I'm like, I don't know. So he goes, come work in the agency I work at. Get your licenses and figure it out. So I don't know why, but I went in and got my life insurance licenses. I'm selling life insurance with him in this agency for Guardian, and I hated it. And I said, Dad, I can't do this. This is not going to work. I'm 23 years old, trying to sell life insurance. It's not working. I like investments. So here's what I've been thinking. Why don't we set up a company? We'll go out to small businesses in northern New Jersey. I have clients all over here in Bergen County, Essex County. We'll go into small businesses, we'll put in 401k plans because they don't have 401ks or retirement plans. You do the life insurance on the owners, I'll do the investments. And that's what we did. We created diversified planning strategies. And my dad was a man of not a lot of words. He wasn't educated past high school. But I said, we need to come up with a motto. What is our purpose? What is our goal with clients? And I don't know how he did this, but he created educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. And ladies and gentlemen, we go by that motto because it's the most important thing that we do in our practice. And I can tell you, if I can educate you guys or we can educate you on some of the topics we're going to talk about today, whether you work with us or not, that's not the issue. I've been doing this a really long time. If I can help you in some way, that whether you do it with your own advisors or you do it with us, that's the most important thing for us right now. It's not about, I don't need to get every person in this room as a client. You're not going to be stressed to do anything with us. You're certainly not going to be buying an annuity, because a lot of these events are, you come in, I'm going to give you a dinner or a lunch, you need to buy an annuity for me, and that's how I'm going to make my money. Rest assured, that's not happening today. We're going to talk about Social Security. We're going to talk about taxes on these qualified plans, because what I realized a lot long into my career was that what I was telling people probably wasn't the best thing to do. Okay, you're going to hear stuff today about 401ks and IRAs and 403bs that they're not the greatest things out there, and we'll tell you why, and we'll talk about it. And then we're going to talk about market volatility. Right, the stock market's crazy, right? A lot of things are happening in this world with the internet, which is a really good thing, but it's also a really bad thing, because information doesn't come. I was talking to somebody yesterday about, you would get the newspaper and it would tell you about yesterday's news. Imagine living in that world today. News comes every second, not the next day. Imagine reading a newspaper and then telling you about how the Yankees did the day before. Like, yeah, we know that already, right? Because we got the scores updated as it was going. So things happen. So how do people who are close to retirement invest today when there's market volatility, right? We're going to talk about that. So those three topics we'll talk about, and we don't like to have a room packed with people. I like this kind of size because I'm going to let you ask questions. I want you to ask questions. You don't need to hear me, Ted, and Luke talk for 1 hour straight and you guys don't participate. I'm going to ask you to ask questions. If we're working short on time, or I'll tell them, let's hold the food out there because you guys are asking good questions. And hopefully you guys came here because of the education. We love working here. This place is great. The employees are great. The food's good. But hopefully you didn't come here for the food, right? You came here to get educated, and I promise you, you're not buying annuities. You're not forced to do anything, okay? Is that a promise, a good deal? Ask questions. Hopefully this is going to be different than what you guys have experienced already. I'm sure this isn't all of your first rodeos, right? This isn't your first event, but hopefully you're going to walk out here and say, wow, this was way better than what we ever experienced. Because really quick, we had a lady sat here about a month or two ago, and she goes, I was at a dinner last night, and I walked out, my whole table was falling asleep. It was so boring. You guys are like energetic, asking questions, making fun of each other, totally different. So hopefully you're gonna have a different experience, okay? Mm-hmm. We're gonna get going. Now you can't read, I don't know if you can, actually, Alyssa made this thing. My daughter is also part of our practice. She was on my show a few seconds ago, you saw that? She just joined us about a year ago. She was in advertising, and she created a lot of new systems for us that are working tremendously well, but I'm a dinosaur, so it's kind of hard for me to adapt. Like these young people, they're adapting really well, but she yells at me all the time. So this thing is a compliance slide. And what it really says is, and it's been up there for a minute, so it's okay. What it says is, anything that we talk about today, whether it's Social Security, taxes on qualified plans, market volatility, we're talking in general. I am not talking to you or anybody here specifically. Do not go home and implement something you hear from us today without having a consultation, because I'm not talking to you individually. I'm saying stuff in a blanket general setting, okay? That's what that slide means. So I'm being recorded, so I'm on record. Do not go home today and implement something because you heard me talk about qualified plans and now you're gonna stop your 401k or whatever. You're not doing that, okay? Until we meet, if we do. That's what that slide means, okay? So, who are we? Who's Diversified Planning Strategies? I said to you, I've been in this business for 40 years. I started in 1986. May of this year, 40 years ago, I started. And what we did, we turned into an insurance person, into a licensed fiduciary. Okay? And what's a fiduciary? Everybody heard the word fiduciary? You should be working with a fiduciary. Do you know what a fiduciary actually means? You know what that means? For those of you who don't, here's what it means. And I use analogies on my practice. We're like Home Depot. So let's say you need a hammer to hang a picture on your wall. And you're working with one of those big box firms, now I'm being recorded so I can't say the names of them, but you know who they are, all the big box firms, the investment companies. And that you ask your person for a hammer and they sell you a 20-pound hammer, okay? You asked for a hammer, they sold you a hammer, that's a suitable recommendation. They cannot get in trouble for that. So let's say you take that 20-pound hammer and you go try to swing it and you dislocate your shoulder because you shouldn't be swinging a 20-pound hammer. We're fiduciaries. When you come into Home Depot with us, I'm going to bring you down to aisle number 3 or whatever aisle it is, and I'm going to show you all the different hammers that are out there. We are not beholden to one company, one firm. We can use any tool in the Home Depot store. So I'm going to bring you down to aisle 12 and say, hey, let me ask you some questions. Any orthopedic issues, any heart issues, any medical conditions that I need to know about, wrist, elbow, shoulder, knees, how are you feeling? Let's take that standard of care to a higher level. And then if I sell you a 20-pound hammer and it's not in your best interest, and you file a complaint with the SEC, that's probably not grounds for a disbarment, but I'm gonna get fined for that by the SEC because I didn't have your care, your needs. It wasn't in your best interest to sell you a 20-pound hammer. That's the fiduciary standard of care. You walk out of here today, and if you get one thing, it's you should be working with a fiduciary. And it's really simple to find out if your person is one. You're gonna ask them one question. Hey, I saw this guy or I heard this guy on TV or radio, and he was talking about fiduciary. Are you a fiduciary? And if they say yes, say, great, that's awesome. Follow up with one more question. Which kind? Because there's only 2. Registered Investment Advisor, RIA, or Certified Financial Planner, CFP. Those are the only 2 designations that can legally say they're licensed fiduciaries. My firm, DPS Advisors, is a registered investment advisor with the SEC, the state of New Jersey. We're licensed in every state in the country. We're regulated by the SEC. We can say we're licensed fiduciaries. Yes, sir.
What was the first one?
I didn't say anything important yet to get to have a question. I'm kidding.
It was.
I'm kidding.
Before CFP, what you?
Registered Investment Advisor, RIA. Those 2 designations can say they're fiduciaries.
And what was the first one, sorry?
First one was Registered Investment Advisor, RIA, and the second one, Certified Financial Planner, CFP. Everybody knows them by the letters, just CFP or RIA. So if your person says, I'm a licensed fiduciary, great, and you ask them which kind, and they don't say right away, there should be no hesitation. If there's a hesitation, that's an issue. CFP, RIA, you're either one of those 2. I've had a bunch of people come and say, I asked that question, and they couldn't answer it. So that's why I'm sitting here in your office, because they basically been lied to for however long they've been with them. So you should work with a fiduciary. 40 years of experience. How many people know Fox Business? Okay, how many people know CNBC? We don't get political here, but I've been both, those shows are either conservative or liberal. I've been on both of those shows. Fox Business has a show called The Wealth Council. In fact, this past Sunday, if you were flipping through Fox Business, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I was on this Sunday show.
I think you look familiar.
Right? That's pretty good. I'm much better looking in person, right? Much better.
Yes.
Okay, I'm teasing. That's true. I'm actually fatter in person than I am. So this Sunday, just past Sunday, I was on Fox Business, right? And I was also on a show on CNBC called The Worldwide Exchange, broadcast in 90 countries. The host of that show was in London, and I was in their Englewood Cliffs offices, studios, and we were talking about retirement and people getting income and yield in retirement. How do they do that? So we had a really cool conversation. We've been on both of those stations. I've been on MSNBC, written articles for Benzinga, MarketWatch, all in this sector, retirement, because I built my practice on telling people to put money in retirement plans, and then when it came time to retire, what do we do now? Because you can't do the same thing you were doing when you were accumulating your assets. Because accumulation is different than distribution. And we're going to talk a lot about that today. Is everybody good? Any questions? These are our shows when they're on. I'm not real creative. My TV show is called The Papa Report. Every Saturday morning, on News 12 New Jersey at 8 o'clock a.m. You'll see a half-hour show called The Papa Report. Me and Kristen, sometimes Luke, sometimes Alyssa. They broadcast it every night as well after the news at 6:30. Sunday, I'm on CBS, WLNY. It's on Verizon. I think it's channel 5 to 10 or something like that.
Every Sunday?
Every Sunday.
What time?
6:30.
AM?
PM. AM. No. No, yeah.
Guess I could go before that.
No, actually, I'm sorry, the Sunday CBS on 510 is actually 9:30. It's actually 9:30 a.m. Yes, I'm sorry. We just got on that station, that's why I'm not 100% sure. We just got on like last week. And who listens to the radio here? Anybody listen to the radio? I'm shocked how many people listen to the radio. Sunday afternoons at 2 o'clock on WOR 710, New York's largest radio station, 50,000 watt station where Sean Hannity's on. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you'll hear me and Morgan Patrick on the Pop-Up Report talking for an hour on financial topics that we're going to talk about today.
Weekdays.
Every Sunday, 2 o'clock, I have a radio show that I do. We get more calls off our radio show than any other media that we have. The radio show gives us more people to talk to than any other media. So we have an extensive, we wrote books. I wrote a book called Avoiding the Retirement Traps. We have a new book that's at the publisher right now called The Empowered Investor, because I want to tell the young people today, your kids and grandkids and nieces and nephews, how do you start investing for retirement when you're right out of high school or right out of college and you got your first job? I want to set a roadmap for those people all the way through. And we'll hit, my first book was all for older people like us. This new book that's getting printed right now is for a roadmap for everybody. And we give it out for free.
What's the title of the first book?
Avoiding the Retirement Traps, the 7 financial mistakes that retirees make with their money. You can go to a website, dpsbook.com, and get a copy sent to you. If you make, listen, you don't have to go, you can go there and check it out, but if you come and make an appointment with us in our office, we'll give you a free copy of the book when you come in, okay? And when the new book comes out, I'll send you a new copy of that as well.
DPSbook.com.
dpsbook.com. All right, so we're gonna get going. Everybody okay? I'm gonna ask you, if we get close to like time, I'm gonna say, hey, you guys okay if we just push it a little bit longer? I'll go by what you guys say. If you say, no, John, we wanna eat, then we'll stop and eat, okay? So it's a lot different than any other event you've been to so far, right?
Yes.
I called myself fat in front of everybody. You ever hear somebody do that? Okay. What we hear, what are we doing? Like, what are people talking to us about, right? Creating tax-free cash flow. How would that be? Most people are taking distributions from their qualified plans and they have to pay taxes on it. What if we can show you a way that you can get tax-free cash? Turning existing IRAs into tax-free accounts. Learning how your retirement plan is going to benefit you and not the IRS, okay? Where's your income coming from if the market is up or down? If your income is tied to the market, you're going to not live a stress-free retirement. Our job as your advisor, if we're on your team, is to try and create a stress-free environment so that you can enjoy your retirement life, and we'll handle all the assets and make sure your income is right, and you don't have to worry about that. Interest rates. We hear a lot of stuff going on about interest rates, right? Going up, going down. What are they doing? How do they affect you? Interest rates, because a lot of people use bonds as safety. Right? Do you guys use bonds as safety, 60-40 balanced portfolio? Well, bonds don't work inverse of the stock market, and Luke will talk to you about that later. Bonds work by interest rates. So interest rates has a huge part in retirement planning, okay? So we're going to talk a lot about that. One big beautiful bill, how did that affect you with taxes and retirement? So a lot of things, rules change. Social Security, it used to never be taxed, and now it's taxed 50% or 85%. We can't get pissed at either one of the parties because they both did it. Reagan started it and Clinton added to it. So both parties, they all stink, in my opinion, okay? But we're not getting political. Right? We're not getting political. So here's what we're going to talk about today. Like I said, Social Security, taxes, market volatility. Ted's going to talk about Social Security. Are there any questions that we have? I know we started already, but before we get going into the meat of the presentation, any questions going forward just yet? Okay. Ask questions as we go, and we'll have a great time, and then we'll have a great lunch. Okay? What's that?
Are you going to discuss cryptos?
Crypto? It's part of market volatility. I will talk about that a little bit, yes. But you have to understand it's not a licensed security, so as a fiduciary, we can't even offer it to clients. There's only a couple ETFs that have crypto in them that we can offer to clients. It's a roller coaster. It's just like anything else. So we'll talk about it. All right, so Ted's going to talk about Social Security.
Can I ask you something?
Yes, ma'am.
You talked about if a person profits over like 200,000, like how to shelter that money. So you
In their brokerage account?
Yeah. So you don't have to
Tax
pay
loss
taxes.
harvesting, we can talk about that. If that's a question you have, when I get back up, ask me and we'll go over some stuff like that, okay? All right, Ted, let's go.
Okay. Thank you, John. Welcome, everyone. As John said, I am going to talk about Social Security. I know it's a very important topic for everyone in this room. The issue that I have, I've been with the company for a little over 2 years now, financial services for over 35 years. When it comes to Social Security, the Social Security Administration itself conducted a study in 2018. They determined that there are over 9,000 different ways that a married couple can file for Social Security. All right, and there are over 2,700 rules that govern Social Security. So I have to speak to you about 9,000 different ways to file and 2,700 rules in 5 or 10 minutes. So wish me luck, okay? With those big numbers, those are serious numbers, right? But there's really two questions that people have when they come, like people like you, become our clients that they have for us, right? The first question is, will Social Security be there for me when I need it, right? The answer to that question is yes, but the second question is, when is the best time for me to file or claim Social Security? And the answer to that question is, it depends. So you're going to get a yes, but, and it depends, right? Some serious concrete information there. Let's answer the first question first. Will it be there for me when I need it? In order to help you with that one, we're going to give you a little bit of a history lesson. All right, 1935, FDR enacted Social Security. They chose 65 years old as the full retirement age in 1935. Can anyone take a guess to what the average life expectancy was for someone who was born in 1935? Take a random guess. 59 and a half. So just do the math in your head. Full retirement age was 65. The average life expectancy was 59 and a half, right? And they weren't expecting many people to live very long in retirement and take Social Security for a long time. Here we are 91 years later now. All they've done is they've raised the full retirement age to either 66 or 67, depending on what year you're born. But now, for people who are born in the year 2026, take a guess as to what the average life expectancy is now.
97, 85.
It's not that old.
Yeah.
So if you're born this year, the average life expectancy for women is about 79. For men, it's about 74. So on average, it's around 77 and a half. I think we all know that women tend to live longer than men. We're not going to debate why that is in this room together. But let's agree on, so the average age now is about 77 and a half, right? So what you have now between the baby boomers, Generation X, Generation Y, who are known as the millennials, you have all of these people who have either retired already or going to be retiring in the next 5 to 10 years. Last year, 77 million people filed for Social Security, right? We are now at the point where we actually have more people taking money out of the system than who are paying money into the system, right? So has anyone heard that Social Security is going bankrupt?
Yes.
Right? So what that really means is the trust fund that people, if you ever look at your pay stub, right, you see Social Security tax or FICA, everyone's always wondering, like, who's the FICA guy that I'm giving 6.25% of my paycheck to? FICA is the Federal Insurance Contributions Act, right? So that's the Social Security fund that you're paying into, all right? So when you have FICA, you're paying money in, but now, look at everybody in this room, right? Going forward, we're all going to be taking Social Security if we're not yet. And Luke right here, handsome young Luke, is going to be the one guy paying into the system. So thank you, Luke. The trust fund is running out of money. By 2033, 2034, it is going to be out of money. But people are still going to be able to contribute. If you're working in America, you're not retired yet, you're contributing. Okay? So here's the thing that you need to talk to your own financial advisor about. Again, hopefully it's a fiduciary. If Congress doesn't take any action by 2033 or 2034, What that means is if you're already taking Social Security, or if you have an idea of what your numbers are going to be, they may cut that to about 80% of what you're getting. All right, now, that's 8 years, 7 years down the road. Anybody living in New Jersey knows how expensive things are today. John's going to talk more about inflation, but think about 8 years down the road, if the price of everything is higher than it is today, and your Social Security is cut to 80%, you need to plan or prepare for that. All right, so Congress can do a few things, right? So there's the Social Security wage tax, right? You'll see for 2025, it was $176,000. For 2026, they raised it to $184,000. What that actually represents is if you're working and you're making, say, $200,000 a year or $500,000 or $1 million a year, for the purposes of Social Security, they're only taxing that 6.25% up to $184,000. So they can continue to raise that, which we believe that they're going to continue to do to get more money into the system. Now, they certainly could say, hey, we've only raised the full retirement age from 65 to 66 or 67. For people like Luke, we're going to raise it to 70. So you're paying into it for a longer period of time. So we believe they will take some type of action. Hopefully that will happen before it becomes a huge problem for everybody. I just want to make sure that everybody knows, right? They used to mail out the statements as to what you were going to be eligible for. If you haven't seen it, if you go to ssa.gov, that's the Social Security Administration site. Surprisingly, for a government site, it's actually pretty easy to set up your own profile if you haven't done it yet. And that way you'll be able to see what at different ages you're going to be able to collect. All right, so that's the first question, is will it be there for me? Yes, but there may be a reduction. Talk to your financial advisor about planning for that. All right, now, the second question, when is the best time for me to file? All right, what I said was it depends, right? We kind of look age-wise like very similar to everybody in this room, right? And you may have friends or family who said, you know what, hey, I filed when I was 62. You should do the same thing. Get the money as soon as possible. They may have your best interest in mind or in heart, but they have really no idea of your particular situation. So it really is a case-by-case basis as to when you should file, right? One of the first things, and it may seem strange for financial advisors to tell you this, is but to talk to your doctor, right? Are you healthy? Do you have longevity in your family? All right, my parents are both still alive at the age of 86. I had a grandfather that lived to 95. From a financial perspective, I need to plan for longevity, right? So that's going to impact when I'm taking my Social Security, all right? Are you healthy? Is there any type of illness, right? Are you still working? They call us the sandwich generation. Some of you may be taking care of parents still financially, while at the same time you're taking care of adult children financially. So, you know, the sandwich generation is kind of getting it from both sides, perhaps, right? Are you married? Are you divorced? Are you widowed? Are you still working? Everyone's situation is unique. So just because someone tells you what they think you should do, again, they may have your best interests at heart. You need to carefully analyze it. One thing I just want to make sure, one kind of piece of the puzzle is that not everyone realizes it. If you're working before your full retirement age, and people are telling you take Social Security at 62, they may not know that if you're making over $25,000 and some change, that for every $2 above that, the government's going to hold back $1 until you reach your full retirement age. So you may not even get what you thought you were going to get for those couple of years, or what that person who recommended you to take it at 62. Okay, so think about that. All right, so now we want to talk about, I just talked about a lot of the things that make everybody different, right? And why you should think about it before just deciding, oh, I'm going to take it here, I'm going to take it then. We're going to give you a mathematical example, all right? We're going to remove all of those things I just told you that you need to talk about. Can we go to the next slide? And we have a married couple. Now we just want to show you from a mathematical perspective how taking it at different ages can impact the dollar amount, okay? So we've got a married couple, Ron and Nancy. All right, so as I said earlier, now here's the thing, right? I gave you those ages of the expected life. The good news is for everybody in this room that if you're still in the room, you're alive, you can now, for women, you can expect to live into your 80s, men early 80s. For a married couple, you can expect one of you to live until at least you're in your 90s. All right, so we've got Ron, we've got Nancy. Ron is 60 years old, Nancy's 58. Ron's life expectancy in each of the three scenarios is 85, Nancy's is 90. Collectively, if they both take Social Security at the age of 62 when they first qualify, they would have cumulative benefits of $1.65 million, all right, until Ron passes away at 85 and Nancy at 90. However, if they both decide to wait until their full retirement age of 67, you'll see the monthly benefit for Ron goes from $1,900 to $3,000. Nancy goes from $1,400 to $2,200. Again, the life expectancy stays the same, 85 and 90. Cumulatively now, because of the bump up in the monthly amounts they're taking, it's now $1.9 million, right? So it's about $280,000 more, even though it's in a shorter period of time. All right, if they both wait to 70, right? Now I just want to make sure you can collect at 62, you got your full retirement age, 70. If you wait to 70, you're going to get about 132% of what you would have gotten at your own full retirement age. Between the full retirement age of 66 and 67 and 70, they give you what's called, the government gives you delayed retirement credits of 8% per year. So at a time when you may be very conservative in your investment profile, the government between your full retirement age and that age of 70 is going to give you 8% a year in Social Security benefits. I want to make sure everybody knows there is no benefit to waiting until you're older than 70. Some people are like, well, should I wait to 72 or 73 then? No, right? If you haven't taken it and you're 70, claim Social Security. So here, right, you're getting that delayed retirement credit. You're going to see it goes from $3,000 a month now to $3,800, $2,200 to $2,800 for Nancy. Cumulative, $2.1 million, about $400,000 difference, shorter period of time. We just wanted you to take a look at, from a mathematical perspective, how it could benefit you to wait if you can afford to do that, if you don't need the money.
I'm sorry.
Yep. Sorry, we'll start here and then we'll go there. Young lady?
Sorry. I just wanted to understand why the money amount is different.
So if you wait to a different age, 62 is when you first can claim, right?
But that's Nancy is lower than,
Well, it's all based on, it's a real situation. Ron's income in this case was higher. That's why I was saying if you go to SSA.gov, they will tell you your own ages at 62, at 67, at 70. These were just a real life example of a husband and wife that we have as clients. We changed their names, but just to give you an idea, Ron was making more money. Now that's changing dramatically, right, in the world we live in. Over the last 20, 30, 40 years or so, right, that's changing.
no, because I was like, oh, the figures, the women's always less, right?
Not just in this example. Yeah, just in this example. But you're right. We are going to, we're going to have to update this. You're right. You're right. So does that explain the question, right? You were really asking why do we have the guy making more money than the woman, is what you were asking, right? That's a legitimate question, all right? Very good. Your question?
Okay, so Ron and Nancy,
You want to say why is the man not making more money?
Ron and Nancy don't need the money until 70.
Right.
But what if they decide, you know what, let me start collecting at 62 and we'll go to DPS advisors?
Right.
What number would?
Great question. So the first question I ask in response to that is, the money that you're going to be taking at 62, first of all, if you're working and you're making over the $25,000, they're going to hold back $1 for every $2, right? So you're not going to get what the actual number should be until your full retirement age, right? So you're not going to have that full amount to invest. Second question, are you really going to invest that money? Some people take the money and don't invest it. So you need to make sure that the dollar that you're making, you're investing, right? Before you do it, talk to an advisor. If you don't need the money, it doesn't make sense to do it, right? If you can wait, we recommend waiting. If you need the money, or, if you know for a fact that you don't have longevity or you've got an illness, something that's not going to allow you to live into your 80s or 90s, then it's a different equation, right? Does that answer your question?
Well, I mean, in theory, there's going to be a difference. It's not going to be this pure 400,000 because you are going, even for that smaller payments that I gave it to you, you are going to invest it. So when we look at it, at some point in time, it's going to be less than 400.
It certainly could be.
Yeah, but we're also, but we would also be investing the other amounts too, at different ages.
Yes.
So if we got a 12% return from we would also get a 12% return if you turned it on at 67, and then up 70, you turn it on anyway. So the equation works just on a math principle, but you can't make the decision based on math. It's got to be based on what your situation is.
Your situation.
And that's kind of what we're saying today, and we'll talk,
It's a legitimate question.
great
We just wanted you to see what the numbers would look like at the different ages. Particularly, you just got to understand between 67 or your full retirement age and 70, you're getting an 8% bump every year at a time when you may be more conservative, a guaranteed 8%. You got to think about that. Did you have a question?
Yeah, the only thing is you don't know when you're gonna leave here.
Well, you don't.
And
You
I
don't.
don't know if we can bank on what our parents, how long they live today, but you got cancer break out everywhere,
Right.
food quality is horrible.
you're 100% right.
That's why
The response to that is, we, as financial advisors, just want to make sure there's a few things. We don't want you to outlive your money, right? So say, hey, I'm going to spend it all, but then you've got 10 years in your 80s where you have no money left. You want to make sure you've got an income stream. Again, I'm not stealing John's thunder. That's going to outpace inflation, right? You got to outpace inflation, right? And we don't know, we can't guarantee you how long you're going to live. But we want to make sure that you also have the same standard of living in retirement that you had while you were working. We don't want the last 10 years of your life, whenever that may be, to be a really tough financial time for you or someone else that you then need to rely on. So it's a legitimate point, a great point. All right, I'll let you.
Yeah. So if you have any questions about Social Security more, we're going to be here during lunch. You can ask them. Just so for time-wise, I mean, you guys will be here at 2 o'clock if we keep going with that. But Social Security is a huge thing. And one of the things you're going to get when you come in, like, a lot of people sit here and they say, like, if I could take up on an appointment, like, what actually happens, okay? We'll do a Social Security optimizer and show you math on your situation. So you'll get that as part of the consultation with us. No charge, no obligation, no charge. You'll get that. So that's one of the benefits you're gonna get by coming in with us, okay? And the next thing we're gonna talk about is taxes. But first you gotta talk to the jet guy. You didn't turn your phone off when I turned it off, I'm sorry. Because you're a jet fan. Typical jet fan. Don't listen. Well, he here is pretty good because he asked a really good question.
It was Woody Johnson calling.
It's Woody Johnson.
I have something to say to him.
Well, John Mara's in the same boat. I'm in the same boat with talking to John Mara.
You can come over to the Giants, but you can.
Yeah, but we're just as bad. I mean, we're just as bad.
The Eagles.
Hold on, don't even talk like that. Don't even say that word here. Do not even say that. Eagles have to fly. Don't even say that.
Eagles fly,
Please.
eagle fly.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave.
And I'll keep my money to myself.
We work with Eagle fans too, just don't tell me.
Wants her meal to go though, John.
Really? That's great. That's awesome. No, it really is. It's fun. You get excited. The draft just came. It's a lot of fun. So funny, I know we're pressed for time, but real quick, these guys planned an event on the Thursday night, first round of the draft, NFL draft. I've been watching the NFL draft since I was 10 years old. I said to them, let me tell you right now,
I ain't gonna.
I'm going, but I'm out. I'll be at my house at 8 o'clock when I want to hear Roger Goodell say the 2026 draft is open and the Raiders are on the clock.
And he made
So
it.
you ask questions, you're going to stay there till 10, I'm home at 8. I made it just in time. So now we're going to talk about taxes. This is the fun part of what we talk about because I do it, so I make it fun. That was a joke. I was part of the problem for 30 years, if not 25 years in my practice. I was telling you to put as much money as you can in a tax-deferred account. Who sat in those meetings and said, max your 401k, max your IRA, max 457, max 403b, right? Because you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. That is so not true, okay? And I was part of the problem and didn't realize it until our clients started getting older and they had this big pot of money. Like you said, you come to us, we're gonna grow it and it's a big pot of money. And now it's every dollar that comes out is taxed at today's tax rates, okay? Before we get going on this topic, are there any CPAs in the room that do, you're a CPA too?
Taxes.
Okay, all right. Because I was really going to rip you apart for the next 20 minutes, but don't take it personally. All right? No, I'm just kidding. So, no CPA talks about tax planning strategies. Your current financial advisors, is anybody talking to you about tax planning strategies, how to reduce the taxes on what probably is your largest investment, your tax-deferred account, your retirement plan? Anybody talking to you about this? Anybody, yes or no? Nobody's talking to about it, right? So is everybody's plan here, I am gonna wait till 73 years old, and that's when the RMDs kick in, and then I'm gonna take my distributions, I'm gonna just pay the taxes, live my life, and then when I pass away, my IRA is gonna go to my kids, or whatever's left in there. Is that your game plan? Pretty much. Everybody, can somebody else nod besides these two ladies? Is that your game plan? Okay, well here's the solution to that game. That means the IRS is going to tell you what's going to happen to your plan, okay? And let's talk about that. Our country is $38.9 trillion in debt and rising by the second, okay? Ted talked about a website, socialsecurity.gov. Have you ever gone to usdebtclock.org? You can't look at it for more than 10 seconds because it's spinning so fast how much debt our country's in. Our country doesn't make anything to sell at a profit to reduce our debt. How does the government collect revenue? How do they make revenue? What does our government do?
Tax us.
Tax us, right? They tax us. Where do you think tax rates are going? Not this year, next year, 5, 10, 15 years down the road.
Away.
Because they're not going away. They're not going away, okay? Again, not political, doesn't matter what side of the aisle you're on, they're not going away. These politicians just love spending our money, so I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. They all do a good job of spending. Taxes are not going away. And we are in the lowest taxable environment we're in our history. For guys like him, for people like Luke, forget what tax rates are going to be 30 years from now, okay? They're going to be higher because our country only collects tax revenue. And Ted talked to you before. When people, in a few years, there's going to be more retired people in the United States than working people in the United States. So how is the government going to collect revenue on less salaries, less income going in? What are they going to have to do? Raise taxes. Raise taxes, okay?
It's always that taxes are really illegal, that really wasn't ever supposed to be that way.
No, they're not illegal.
We're doing conspiracy theories?
Yeah, no, they're not illegal. I mean, our government put in laws, we voted for politicians that implemented laws, created taxes, and that's what we have to pay. We vote for it. I mean, that's just the way it is. So, but that's not the point here. The point here is, these accounts, 401k, 403b, 457, IRA, they're called tax-deferred accounts. So if you have a tax deferred account that you're going to be taxed on later on, when do you want to take money out of a tax deferred account? When tax rates are low or when tax rates are high?
No.
Did anybody say high? No, tax rates when they're low. So when is that? We just all agreed we're in the lowest taxable environment that we're going to be in for the rest of our lives. So why aren't you taking money out of those accounts now? Our clients are doing it now. I'm going to give you an example that we have for the presentation. Then I'm going to tell you for about 5 minutes from a retired doctor who sat in that chair right there 6 months ago, and what we did right before the end of last year ended. He sat in that chair right there and then came into our Paramus office in September of last year. And I'll tell you his story really quick. If you were watching a TV show before, I talked about it on a TV show. So we'll talk about that in a second. But so I like to talk about games. These young kids don't remember Let's Make a Deal. You guys remember that game show, Let's Make a Deal, Monty Hall? You had door number 1, door number 2, door number 3. Love that game. Love that show, right? Still what? You still watch it?
Yes.
It's still around.
Not Monty.
No, it's not Monty Hall. It can't
It's
be,
still
right?
on.
So here's the thing. You have a couple of options. Door number 1 is do nothing and wait till 73 years old for the R&Ds, which everybody in this room said they're going to do. So that means you have no plan to reduce your taxes. You could do nothing, and I'm going to show you what that's going to actually mean. Then I'm going to tell you about door number 2 and door number 3 and what those benefits are. But here's the thing. I could sit up here until I'm blue in the face and tell you how great these solutions and strategies are. Most of you in this room are not going to do anything because I get it. I've been doing this a really long time. You don't like change. You have to change what you're doing to get a different outcome. If you don't change what you're doing, you're not going to get a different outcome. You're going to pay the most amount of taxes to the IRS, and you didn't have to because you didn't want to change what you're doing. And I get it, change is hard for people, but the numbers don't lie. And let's talk numbers. So we talked about taxes and tax rates, okay? Who remembers Ronald Reagan? He's one of the first tax Social Security. Ronald Reagan was the president, right? We're not talking about his presidential career. What was he before a president?
An actor.
He was an actor. Everybody knows that. He was a Western actor. Cowboy, Western actor. 1939 or 40, he did a movie and got paid $1 million salary in 1939 or 40. Do you know what the highest federal tax rate was in 1939 or 40? 90%. So he paid $900,000 in 1940 on $1 million salary from a movie. And I honestly think if he was here today, I would like to interview him and ask him, was that the reason why you got into politics? Because think about making money and paying 90% to the federal government. So with the stroke of a congressional pen, we have no say. They changed the tax code and they want to attack qualified plans. When I first got into this business in the 80s, if you did a distribution from your IRA or 401k, you paid federal taxes, state taxes, and who remembers the excise tax? If you took a little bit too much out of that IRA they had a schedule the IRS listed, you paid a 15% excise tax on the distribution.
But not on the Roth IRA.
Well, yeah, not a Roth tax rate. I'm talking about regular tax deferred accounts. So that went away with a congressional pen, that went away. We're $39 trillion in debt, less working people than retired people, more retired than working. We're a congressional pen, you can be in a higher tax bracket. But let's run it as of today's tax rate. So let's say you have $500,000 sitting in an IRA. That's not too crazy, right? We all saved our money. You guys are a save generation. You know, when you didn't have it, you didn't spend it, you saved all your money. You listened to me when I came into your 401k room and said, put as much money as you can, and you got $500,000. Is that too far-fetched to have about 500 grand in an IRA?
No.
Okay. If you do nothing, so this person's 65 years old. They have 8 years to go to 73. They're going to play the game that the IRS says. Just keep tax deferring. Don't do any planning and wait till 73 and then do RMDs. You guys know what RMDs mean? Required minimum distribution. Okay, once 73 comes, you can't stop it. It starts and it never ends. So let's talk about that. And you invest your money and get a 7% return. If your advisor can't get you a 7% return in today's markets, you need to fire that advisor, okay? 7% return, 8 years from now, your IRA is now worth $860, right? 65 was worth 500, future value calculator, 8 years later, it's worth $860. And now the IRS comes knocking, okay? No, you have no say whether you need the money or not. You have to take out $34,781. And then the next year, you have to take out $37,161. And then the next year, $39,702. And then the next year, $42,415. And that doesn't stop. Every year until you pass away, you have to pull money out, whether you need it or want it, and pay income taxes on it. Let's not even change the tax rates. Let's use today's tax rate. At 90 years old, we lived to 90, right? Let's just agree that we're going to live to 90. At 90 years old, you would have pulled out all those 34s, 37s, 39, 42, 55. They add up to $1.1 million that you would have taken out in that 17-year window from 73 to 90, 24% tax bracket. You're going to pay $265,000 in income taxes on that $1.1 million. Is everybody up with me? Did I confuse anybody? Straight, just tax rate on the distributions, and that's what you're going to pay. But that's not the end of the story, because the IRS knows that chart that they have that you have to abide by, they know there's going to be money left in that account to go to your heirs, kids, grandkids. There's still $1 million left in that IRA that now Luke inherits as your as your beneficiary. It used to be, if he inherited that $1 million IRA, he could take the distributions over his lifetime. Well, 2 years ago, they ruined that, and now it's 10 years. So Luke, 17 years from now, is 25 years old. 17 years from now, he's 43, probably in his prime earning years in his life, and he now inherits your IRA for $1 million that he has to distribute over a 10-year period. That's $100,000 a year if it's sitting in cash.
Does it have to be 10 years, or you can take it all at once?
You can definitely take it all at once, but that's even worse.
Right.
Okay, but you can. So $100,000 a year over 10 years, added to his income at 43 years old, prime working years. Is it too far-fetched to say that he might be in a 30% bracket then? Might bump him up to 30?
Easily.
Okay, so he's going to pay $310,000 in income taxes. So when your IRA at 65 years old that was worth $500,000, you do nothing, door number one, you're going to pay, you and your family are going to pay $575,000 in income taxes on that IRA. More than what your IRA was worth at 65 years old. Are you kidding me? Did you miss the off or silent?
I did.
Are you a Jet fan?
Another Jets fan.
Are you a Jet fan?
I don't really.
All right.
Football, I don't know.
All right. I'm just teasing. I'm teasing. So
The Knicks.
you just ruined the whole. I was right at the top of the presentation, ready to go to the next thing, and you just blew it. Now I just deflated. Now I'm all deflated. No, but think about that. You have a $500,000 IRA that you and your family are now going to pay probably close to $600,000 in taxes on distributions, and that's at today's tax rate. We're talking 20 years down the road. Tax rates are going to be way higher, okay? So, door number one, and every one of you in here is saying you're doing door number one. So you should all be saying, John, I want to see the analysis on how I can save taxes. Because let me ask you this question. What if I can give you the same amount of distributions for you and the same amount of distributions to your kids and cut the tax rate to $150,000 from $575,000? Would anybody be interested in that?
Yeah.
So every one of you should be writing on your sheet, John, can you do an analysis to show me how I can save 2/3 of the tax on my qualified plan? Everybody should be doing that. We think it's so important, we built another website called dpstaxbill.com. You can go to that website, plug your numbers in, play around with the tax rates, play around with the interest rates, play around with the distribution years you're going to pull it out, whatever. and it'll click of a button, it'll tell you what your costs are gonna be. And if you want, when you come in to see us, if you choose to do so, that's gonna be part of our presentation to you. We're gonna give you the analysis for free. So you'll get a Social Security optimizer, you'll get a tax analysis done on your tax deferred accounts, all with no obligation, no stress, part of the package we're gonna give you. I don't care if you work with us or you stay with your current advisor. That's my job, that's what I educate and empower people so they can make better decisions with their hard-earned money. Let's go to door number 3, because that's what that guy did. He's not here, it's empty chair. Sat there in September of last year, retired doctor. He had, now don't get crazy, not everybody has $5 million in an IRA, but the numbers work, whatever, it doesn't matter. So he was there, listened to us, he came to meet us in our Paramus office. We ran his numbers. All he wanted his IRA to do was go to his 2 daughters. He didn't want the money, didn't need the money, because he had rental properties, pension from the hospital. He goes, John, I don't need the money, I want this money to go to my daughters. How can I get the most amount of money to them with your help? I said, well, Doc, first thing we gotta do is we're gonna run your numbers. He was 72 years old in 2025. We met him in September. So we only had a short amount of time, because 73 years old, the IRS comes knocking, right? His required minimum distribution was $265,000. And what does that do to you for your Medicare expenses, your premiums? IRMA, right? That kind of income, he's paying $700 a month for IRMA instead of $200 a month for the rest of his life. So that's another benefit. We fixed that benefit too. So now he sits there and I go, okay, Doc, I ran his numbers, you and your daughters, between you and them, you're gonna collect about $30 million in income on those distributions. And we did the same tax rates, 24 and 30. You're gonna pay $18 million in income taxes, you and your daughters. What if we can show you a way to cut the tax rate, the tax bill, to $2.2 million, and you get the same $25 to $30 million in distributions? Would you be interested in that, Doc? Sat right there in that chair, right next to you, sat right there. I swear to God, sat in that chair. And he said, what do we have to do? How do I do that? Okay, he came in, we brought our CPA in, because I want him to verify the numbers, because this is not, making somebody pay $2.2 million in taxes is not something easy to do, right? So the CPA came in the room, we were in the room with the doc. I had Charles Schwab on the line, they were the custodian who was holding the money, and we did a tax planning strategy, and we got it all set up, and you had to hit enter on the computer. I said, Doc, come on over here. I'm not hitting enter. You're hitting the enter button. And he hit enter. We cut his tax bill from 18 million to 2.2 million, and now his daughters are gonna get 30 million tax-free when they receive it. He saved $15 to $16 million in taxes over the next 25 years. That's at today's tax rate. If the tax rate goes up, it's even more, right?
Not if, when.
When, exactly. So the point of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is not to impress you with, I got a $5 million doctor client. It's to say that if you do tax planning, door number 2 or door number 3, you can save taxes, okay? You can't cut them to zero. There's nothing way to do that. But you don't have to pay the most. You all said you're gonna do nothing. That's paying the most. I love this country. The tax code is for us to pay the least amount of taxes. Everything we do is legal, it's within the tax code, we just use it to our advantage. But if you do nothing, you can never change your outcome. So what you're gonna get, if you come into our office at no stress, no obligation, we will run your numbers so you can make a better decision with your money. You get that for free if you come into our office. Is that fair? No stress. Have you been stressed out today? Have I sold you anything? We're not selling anything. We just want to advise you and educate you. And if you choose to work with us, great. If you don't, it is what it is. Okay? So Luke's going to talk about market volatility. We're like way over. Ted went way over on Social Security. You guys got 10, 15 more minutes? I didn't go over. Ted said. You guys got like 10, we got 10, 15 more minutes. Are we good?
I'll be quick,
We can
guys.
hold the food for 15 minutes?
Yes.
Okay, because if you guys say no, I'll tell them to bring the food in. All right, we got 15 minutes?
Save the best presenter for last.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, I like to call this,
I'm sorry, excuse me.
Oh, I got it.
Go to the restroom. Sorry.
I'll do that, I'm sorry. I gotta go ahead.
I like to call this segment the market volatility 2-minute drill.
We're gonna skip inflation.
Because John and Ted love leaving me 2 minutes to talk about it. But it's just as important as the other two, right? It's about how you're invested in your retirement account. You know, you've had maybe this 401k that you've worked, contributed to your whole life. Were you aware of how it was really invested? Maybe you talked about it once a year with the plan administrator. But I'm going to show you how that could affect you if you don't make some changes when you're getting ready to retire. Because investing in retirement is totally different than investing while you're working. When you're working and you're receiving an income, you can afford to be aggressive with your investments. And you should be. When you're getting closer to retirement and you're about 5 years out, 5 to 10 years out, that's when you want to start switching to a more conservative portfolio. Once you're in retirement, you really need to worry about market volatility because you can't afford to take a loss in the market and having to pull money out of your IRA in the RMD. Because once you're 73 and RMDs are due, and if you haven't done any Roth conversions, that RMD doesn't care if the stock market's down. You still have to take money out by December 31st. So we're going to look at a couple examples of how a loss could affect you. Next slide, please. Okay. So if you lose 10% in your portfolio, it's going to take 3.6 years at a 3% return to get back to even. At a 6% return, it's going to take almost 2 years. In the year 2022, both stocks and bonds were down. Have you guys heard at some point, maybe you're in the financial world or maybe in school, of the 60-40 balanced portfolio? 60% stocks, 40% bonds, they work inverse of each other? Well, that portfolio was down 25% in 2022 because that concept that stocks and bonds have an inverse relationship is a lie. Right? Bonds are affected by interest rates. And what happened in 2022? The Federal Reserve started raising rates, bond values got plummeted, got hammered, and that portfolio, that balanced portfolio was down 25% in 2022. So if you lose 20% and then you say, oh crap, I just lost 20%, then you switch to a conservative portfolio where you're getting a 3% return, it's going to take 7.5 years to get back to even. With the RMD being taken out on top of that, it's going to be nearly impossible to do. So you need to pay attention to how you're invested as you're approaching, or maybe you're already in retirement. Next slide. Here's another example. So if you start with $100,000 in your portfolio, you lose 10%, that leaves you with $90,000. You need an 11.1% return to get back to $100,000. You may think that because you lost 10%, that a 10% gain would get you back there, but fortunately that's not how it works, right? Because now you're working with less principal, so you need a higher return. If you lose 25%, that leaves you with $75,000. You need a 33.3% return to get back to $100,000. Which means you'd have to take a crazy amount of risk to get that kind of return. And at this point in our lives, right, at this stage, I would think we want to be less risky, right, and start relaxing more and enjoying the money that we've built up over all this time we've worked. We don't want to ride this roller coaster, right? That's a young man's game to do that. Yeah. For when you're still working, you have income coming in, so you're buying in when the market's going down, right? You're buying more. This is different. So you just really need to pay attention to market volatility and how you're invested as you're getting closer to retirement. This chart, numbers a little smaller here, but it's called the lost decade. And it's showing $1 million IRA from 2000 to 2009 with a 4% withdrawal rule taken out and sustaining market loss. At the end of this 10-year period, this person's left with $480,000. And that's just in the 10-year period. So let's say you have $1 million IRA on December 31st, 2022, you're 73 years old, recently retired, and you're in that balanced portfolio that I was talking to you before. So that balanced portfolio, that portfolio of stocks and bonds was down 25%, so your $1 million went down to $750,000. And the IRS says you got to take another $40,000 out because of your RMD. So that would mean that in year one if you retired in that year, in year one of retirement, your $1 million IRA went from $1 million to $710,000 in one year. And what we've been talking about, right? What's going on? What's happening is people are living longer now. People overall are healthier. So what happens if you live 25 to 30 years in retirement? So your investment philosophy in retirement needs to be completely different than your philosophy while you're working. It's got to change. You have to review it at the very least. You got to take a look. Okay? And that's all for me.
So what that means is, we have to do an analysis. So people come in, and another opportunity for you to work with us or get an analysis done is we're going to review your assets. Because a lot of people come into our office and they tell me, oh, I'm a conservative investor, I'm a moderate investor. And then when I do a Morningstar report, has anybody heard of Morningstar? Okay, has your current advisor done a Morningstar report on your assets as we're sitting here right now? Nobody does that. I don't understand why. We give Morningstar reports out to our clients on a regular basis. Because the Morningstar report, they're the leading company that rates and analyzes assets. We do it for our clients all the time because we want to make sure that they're efficient. We want to know exactly how much risk they're taking. And that report will tell us. It's the encyclopedia of advisors. You'll get one of them for free if you just come to see us. Yes, sir.
We meet you in future, and you do the analysis. But how do you charge the fees?
So just to come in and do the analysis, there's no charge. It's free. But once like every other financial advisor in this world, I don't do everything for free, right? You can't. We all got to make money, right?
Right. We
We explain to you as fiduciaries, that's another thing that a fiduciary has to do. Explain exactly how they get paid and how much they charge. So depending on how much assets we're managing, we have a fee structure. If we're managing $500,000, you're going to be charged a fee. If you're managing $2 million, it's going to be a less fee. The more money we manage, the lower your fee is going to be. We will go over that fee structure with every person here before you decide whether you're going to work with us or not. You'll know exactly what we're going to charge. And then going forward, and when you become a client of ours, we don't just tell you what the fee number is. Every 3 months, we send out a performance report that has the fee in it, so you know how much you've paid us versus how good we did. You get that every 3 months, and we're going to have a conversation about what's going on in your plan. So you'll see. And it goes back to inception. So we could be clients for 15 years, and that one column is going to go back to 2026 when you guys became a client, how much market increase